talk.
Welcome to Unity New Thought World Religion. My name is Greg Lee, and today I am talking, I guess the talk is entitled The New Dream. We're going to start with it based on the book Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, something that has been pivotal in my life and my journey, a bunch of good information in there. I would actually like to start by reading just a few pages of the introduction, an excerpt, a kind of cut through it to get to the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. And this will give us a little bit of a foundation so we can all kind of agree on a starting point from where we will launch into more of what we're going to talk about. Before I start reading, I would just like to, it'll be about 5 minutes worth of reading, but then we can all agree on where we're at. But before we begin, I would like for you to open yourselves up to the possibility that all the information is truth, and to follow through, assuming that we're talking truth. Follow through on the implications and the ramifications of this information and the way it relates to your life and actions that you take. Let's begin. 3,000 years ago, there was a human just like you and me who lived near a city surrounded by mountains. The human was studying to become a medicine man, to learn the knowledge of his ancestors, but he didn't completely agree with everything he was learning. In his heart, he felt there must be something more. One day, as he slept in a cave, he dreamed that he saw his own body sleeping. He came out of the cave on the night of a new moon. The sky was clear, and he could see millions of stars. Then something happened inside of him that transformed his life forever. He looked at his hands, he felt his body, and he heard his own voice say, "I am made of light. I am made of stars." This is what he discovered. Everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being we call God. Everything is God. And he came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light perceiving light. He also saw that matter is a mirror, and the world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light, he said. This realization changed his life. Once he knew what he really was, he looked around at other humans and the rest of nature, and he was amazed at what he saw. He saw himself in everything, in every human, in every animal, in every tree, in the water, the rain, the clouds, in the earth. In those few moments, he comprehended everything. He was very excited, and his heart was filled with peace. He could hardly wait to tell his people what he had discovered, but there were no words to explain it. He tried to tell the others, but they could not understand. They could see that he had changed, that something beautiful was radiating from his eyes and his voice. They noticed that he no longer had judgment about anything or anyone. He had discovered that he was a mirror for the rest of the people, a mirror in which he could see himself. Everyone is a mirror, he said. He saw himself in everyone, but nobody saw him as themselves. And he realized that everyone was dreaming, but without awareness, without knowing what they really are. They couldn't see him as themselves because there was a wall of fog or smoke between the mirrors. And that wall of fog was made by the interpretation of images of light, the dream of humans. What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now in this moment. You are dreaming with the brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when the brain is awake, and it also dreams when the brain is asleep. The difference is that when the brain is awake, there is a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear way. When we go to sleep, we do not have this frame, and the dream has a tendency to change constantly. Humans are dreaming all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we call society's dream, or the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of a family, of a community, a dream of a city, of a country, and finally a dream of the whole of humanity. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. That is the way we learned everything we know. By using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. It was all there already. All the knowledge, all the rules and concepts about how to behave in the world. The outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak. Language is the code for understanding and communication between humans. Every letter, every word in each language is an agreement. We call this a page in a book. The word page is an agreement that we understand. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store that information. As soon as we agree, we believe it, and this is called faith. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. A little bit of the introduction and the first chapter, like the beginnings of the first chapter of the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a good book, and I actually brought extra copies if anyone A has not read it or B wants some. So they are yours to take and enjoy. So, okay, there were a few points that we hit with that I was going to expand upon a little bit today. Number one, the concept that reality, matter, the universe itself is a mirror. We're going to talk about how what we believe internally is reflected in the external world. We are going to talk about how everything is dreaming, all is a dream, and how we can use and focus our attention to modify the dream using the concepts of the universe being a mirror as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit, if we have time, we'll see how it goes. All right, this is going to be pretty touch and go, but we'll talk about hooks and agreements and energy transfer between humans as we communicate using language and all of these things. And the idea is how we will use these tools or this understanding to affect change and the outcomes of our life. So first, I'm going to drink a little coffee.
People love that. You're going to be talking a lot.
I imagine so. With this, for sure. Okay, so the first concept, the universe, reality itself, is a mirror. This is an underlying concept. This is an underlying idea that changes not only the way we see ourselves, but changes the way we see others as well. Based on the presupposition that we are dreaming, that we are creating our own reality as it unfolds in the now, the way events and actions and ideas and even people are presented to us are a direct reflection of who we are on the inside. And for example, we'll use a for example first. And I think I'll go with the joke. So it's not really a joke, just an aphorism. What the saying is if you meet someone and have a very bad experience on your day-to-day activities, they're mean to you, you yell at each other, whatever. You can walk it off and say, "Oh, they were having a bad day," and it doesn't affect you at all. That's one of the four agreements. Don't take things personally. Now, if you go through your day and every single person you meet is a jerk, about then is when you need to start looking at yourself. It's the everywhere you go smells like poop, so you might want to check your shoes. And that is how the mirror principle works. When you focus, again, that goes back to the attention. When you focus your attention on the negative, the universe will gladly and happily say yes. The universe will say yes to everything that you put out there. You constantly emanate ideas and energy and in the form of frequency. In the form of energy, your brain is transmitting whatever it holds. Now, you have the capability to rewrite your brain and you rewrite your thought patterns. The universe itself is dispassionate. It is neutral. It is only going to amplify and reflect that which you put out. And so, when we focus on what is going wrong, the universe says, yes, that is going wrong. Let me give you more opportunities to see how everything is going wrong. When we focus on what is going right, when we focus on what is going well, the universe is like, yes, again, everything is going well. Let me give you more examples and opportunities. One of the neat ideas here is when you pray to God to be brave, God doesn't give you bravery. God gives you the opportunity to be brave. These are ways in which challenges and opportunities present themselves in your reality based off of your attention, based off of the way you are thinking in every present moment, in every now. As you think in the now, you project. Your thoughts are real, your words are real, your actions are real. Each one carries a different vibrational frequency and signature that emanates out into the all that is. Because time itself is only present for us in the now. Let us talk a little bit about books and agreements and the way energy is transferred. We'll between living beings. I mean, between all things. But we'll do what's relevant to a lot of us is our interactions with other humans in the day-to-day life. You can hug a tree and get an energy transference there, but it's not quite as dynamic. It is dynamic, but it's not quite as, we'll say, unpredictable as our encounters with other human beings can be. If anyone has read or familiarity with the James Redfield Celestine prophecy or Celestine series, that goes very deep into energy transfer, energy transference, and agreements, and the way knowledge and understanding is passed from human to human. So I'll be drawing a lot from that with these concepts. But so as I talk, I am sending vibrations out into my immediate surroundings and also the universe. And you, as you receive them, are deciding whether or not to almost accept it. You have essentially you are the gatekeeper for your own mind. You are the gatekeeper that decides what you are going to accept and what you are going to reject or let pass through you or whatever, however you deal with it. The better and more adept you are at either accepting, rejecting, filtering, and processing information, the more flexible and agile you are when you're rewiring and recoding your own thought processes. And again, your thought processes, what you think day to day, now to now, that's what writes the narrative of the reality in which you live. It's who you are on the inside. There's I'm going to butcher it, but some philosopher will say is your thoughts become your your words become your actions become your habits become your life, and your life becomes your destiny. It's something similar to this, in which what you are thinking continually builds into who you are. Now that all happens in the now. There's not really a past or a future that is going to affect what is happening now. So, we might hit on hooks later, but the agreement is something that we make with ourselves as we filter the information. We say, yes, I believe that is true. That becomes a part of you. That becomes a way you think. And so, what kind of the big deal about this, especially in today's day and age, is the agreements that we make, or the media that we consume. If I was to watch horror movies from sunup to sundown all day, that is internalized within myself. It can't not be, and will, because I have something inside of me has chosen to project into my external reality images of sadness or horror or whatever it is, they'll provide basically a feedback loop into ourselves. And so when we mindlessly scroll social media, those images and that media and that information, because this again is all information transfer to us from us, and that's what shapes who and what we are, and who and what we see, and who and what we think about. And so when we mindlessly scroll social media, whatever it is imparted into us, which is extremely important to remember, to just consume media intentionally. Surround yourself, be the person that surrounds yourself with love and light and truth, or honestly, there's no judgment, there's no morality, there's no good or bad in terms of like, oh, I like this, oh, I like that, oh, I don't want to do the floofy woo-woo social media posts. You don't have to. You get to decide for yourself. That's kind of the joy and the beauty of this incarnation, is you are deciding for yourself where you're going, who you are going to be in the now, right? And that brings me to I'm gonna play around with drawing a little bit, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the now, and we'll see how this goes, because I haven't really done this in front of an audience. I've done it in front of an audience of me, but I do want to play with it. So before I start doing this, does anyone have any questions about what we've talked about so far? Or yes, please.
Well, you're talking about the mirror image. I've been watching YouTube videos and interacting with this guy that's doing international tractor repair online.
Yeah.
And I told him that the fuel tank on the 1086 is supposed to be on the left-hand side of the tractor, and you have to take consideration whenever you're looking into the screen that everything's on the opposite side as it is in real life.
It's reversed, isn't it? Yep.
So we have to stop and think that it is what we're looking at is actually the real thing, only it's in reverse.
It's almost an illusion.
It's an illusion.
Wendy?
I would just kind of, for myself, with my experience and the things that I practice, is that if I watch a horror show, I don't think I'm calling in that to me. What I think is that my perception of that horror show, how I look at it, is no different than how I look at this world. And so, or if I look at something, so for instance, or like Jerry Springer, I've heard that in the
That's a
back of
name
my,
from the past.
but I was dating someone who had a granddaughter who had a child and dealt with alcoholism and everything. And that's where I heard Jerry Springer. I would watch this girl that had no motivation, had nothing. And when she watched that show, she was the most alive I had ever seen her. If I was a doctor, I would give her a prescription to watch at least 3 episodes a day. So you can't, it's like anything. Whatever's out there, it's your perception about it and how you draw it in, not the thing itself.
Absolutely, and it's certainly not a judgment. Essentially, the phrase you would use is it takes all kinds, right? The point of kind of our existence is complexification or fractalization, right? We are here for novelty. We exist because we are growing and changing and expanding. We as a collective thing, and so it takes all kinds, and that is one of the most beautiful things that I can even think of. We are all the hero and the villain. We are all the Real Housewives of Las Vegas or Nevada or wherever it is. We're all Real Housewives watchers, and we're all Tibetan monks meditating on top of a mountain, right? There is no oh well, this reality is better or worse than this one. Absolutely. And actually what I would go with is what makes you feel alive is the right thing. What gives you energy? What makes you interested and what makes you focus your attention in the now? Because what happens for a lot of people is, or can happen for some people, is their attention is neglected and their attention will stray from the now into the future or the past, and that causes issues being able to direct the movie of your life as you see fit. So this is all there is. So this is space, all of our three-dimensional reality, all of our everything that we see. And in fact, if we want to go deeper into the physics, it's like 3% of the whole universe is baryonic matter that we can actually interact with. The rest is, who knows, we can't interact with it, so we'll figure it out someday. So if this is space, we're going to also label it as the flow of time. Einstein liked to call it space-time, and for no reason, we will give it an arbitrary direction. We feel, we experience, because of the meat suits that we put on, we experience time in a linear way. Time builds a framework and we're all kind of flowing with it like a river. Now, if you got out of a river, you're going to notice that you're not being carried along by it anymore. So, if this is space-time, this is all of existence as it flows. I say all of existence, but all of our universal existence as it is flowing through time. Here is you in the now. This is the only point. Now, this is not you and me. This is only you, or only me. This is our perception, our experience only occurs within the now. There is no other time. So, okay, here's where we're going to get into the fun stuff. But I start with, there is no other time, yet we experience other times. We've chained together a lot of nows. And what we call that series of chained together nows, we call it the past. And so this is all the stuff that has happened in the past to bring us to the now. For me, I got up, I got my daughter dressed, I loaded her in the car, and I got a coffee, and I drove here, and I started doing this all the way to right now. And that has been my task for this morning, or not even all of this morning. Now, if I wanted to look back on my whole life, I could chart every successive now that this Greg has experienced, all the way to something, specific. Oh, I was born to these parents in this city, in this state, at this time, and this unbroken series of causality has led me to this exact instant. And so that's my life. But this is not a linear thing. This is an infinite thing. This is not this is a cone of potential realities that can all lead to the now. We're going to talk a little bit about infinity, but just to get it out of the way. What we're talking about here is the difference between big infinity and little infinity. So, you're right, yeah. And so there's an infinite amount of numbers, right? It goes all the way. There is also an infinite amount of numbers between 1 and 2. Both of those are infinite, but one of them contains the other, which is a really mind-bogglingly fascinating thing to think about. So if we're going to talk about the past, I could have driven a different way this morning. It's possible. There's several routes for me to get here, and that might have changed my past, but I would still be in the now. I might have been born in a different city, and then it still leads me to the here and now. We can do a ship of Theseus thought experiment, and is that the same person? Yes and no, whatever. We probably won't talk about multiversal stuff very much, but the point is, we're talking about the infinite amount of potential past experiences that you could have had to get here. Now, when I say infinite, the fun part is you could have been born at the exact same time to the exact same parents at the exact same city, county, hospital, but one atom on the moon was different. That is infinite. I could have thought at one point in my early childhood, wow, I wish I had a lizard as a pet. And that me was different than the me that is here right now. However, we coalesce in the now. The we of all the potential past lives that we have had. And from there, these are all different choices, all different events. Now, what falls outside of infinity is something that would make me different than who I am right now. Say I was born black, or I was born a woman, or all of these. So those are both probably problematic things to lean on. But say I was born with 3 arms. All of that is different than who I am in the now. But those events would lie. Those timelines would lie outside of the potential realities that would bring me here and now, because I don't have 3 arms. Okay? All right, so we're here again in the now with the understanding that there was an infinite amount of us that could be in the now where we are. And now these events, again, these are just unbroken chains of nows that our brain is processing linearly. One of the shamans call it assemblage points, right? The assemblage point from Carlos Castaneda's stuff or Don Juan's stuff is kind of the way we process the threads of reality into our attention. So, in the future, we have potentialities. We have possibilities. The future is boundless, limitless. It's in fact infinity, the same as the past. They're both probability based, and so there is the potential for me to grow a 3rd arm. Is it probable? Not really. But is it potential? Sure. This is the type of infinity we're talking about. And if we want, we can kind of blend that into the idea and the understanding that there are infinite multiversal realities occurring overlappingly right now in every now, that we get to decide which one we are currently in and living in and going to be. So, for example, I want to be a pro surfer. Right? That is this timeline. I never surfed before. Been to the beach. Terrible at it. Not even good at boogie boarding. I just get tossed by the waves. However, if I wanted to be a professional surfer, it's low probability, but it is a possibility. What would I do? Who would I be? What kind of person would I be to be a surfer? Well, the first thing I would probably do is I would move to California or Florida or wherever has good waves, I suppose. First, I'd probably Google where to go to be a surfer and then move there. And to move, it would require a series of choices and actions. And then I would start taking surfing lessons, and I would dedicate my life to surfing. And in 5 years, 10 years, well, I'm old. Well, maybe not say professional. We'll say surf instructor, because to bring it within the realm of probability here. But in 10 years, I could be a surfer in Hawaii. I mean, absolutely. Living on the beach, one of the best surfers around. Mahalo, everyone. That's Hawaii, right? And that's a potential reality. I could also be a doctor living in New York. Now that requires different choices, right? I mean, this is a very logical chain of events here. Is if I wanted to be a doctor or a surfer, I would make different choices in my life. The point is, I have to choose what I want to be and who I want to be. Because if I don't choose, I am adrift in the river of time. There is an infinite amount of places that brought you to the now, and an infinite amount of places that you will be going. But if you don't choose where you're going, then it's just going to happen to you based on your essentially external reality and the thoughts that you have in the now. So we'll get into the way it actually, so my real reality, the reality that I have chosen, looks something more like this, right? And I choose to be who I am in every now based off of who I want to be in a future now. The fun part is the only way you, quote, get to be who you want to be in the future is if you are that person in the now. The only way you get to be the person you want to be in the future is if you are that person in the now. To use a materialistic expression, right? So, all right, no, we won't. I normally talk a little bit about, if I wanted to be a millionaire, I would have to understand and act like a millionaire acts, but that's kind of boring. So we will go back to being a surfer, okay? So if I'm going to be a professional surfer in the arbitrary time of 5 years, I'm a surfer now. That's the only way I get to do it. My thoughts, my thought patterns, what I am Googling, what I am reading, what I am planning, what I am living and breathing is surfing. That's it. Otherwise, I'm not that. Because again, all of time itself is only the now. You can cast your attention and you can direct your attention wherever you want it to go. You can direct your attention to the past and think about things that have happened in your chain of causality. You can cast your attention into the future, which is extremely important for forecasting and for deciding who you want to be. But the only place you actually exist is in the now. And so right now, I'm faced with the decision of doctor or surfer. If I was a cruise ship taking off from New York, right? I have, say, two options, two ports of call, North Africa or the UK, right? I can make the choice, we'll say North Africa and then the UK. I can make the choice right now and alter very little about my trajectory, about the way I am turning the wheels of my life. A 1 degree turn will make the difference between Africa or Europe. Because, I mean, make thousands of miles of difference. In the same way, in your life, a 1 degree difference now will be amplified greatly over time. Time is a magnifier of all of our thoughts and behaviors and actions and words and all that we do, so long as we kind of remain true on the same path, right? So there is also, no, I won't talk about that. Thoughts, questions, comments as I continue to ramble.
Well, I've been studying the apple tree here lately.
No, it being contained in an acorn or in an apple itself, both happening concurrently.
No,
Okay.
the apple tree doesn't sit there and wonder why you picked an apple off of the other tree. It doesn't conclude that there must be something wrong with their apples. It doesn't do this to itself. We're the only creature on the planet that assumes there's something wrong with us just because somebody, somewhere, somehow, that we think would be thinking such a thought determines that the apple on the other tree must be better. So I've just been meditating on the apple tree.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's just where I'm at the moment.
Well, it's certainly one of the 4 agreements is not to take things personally. When we believe that the actions of others are about us, we kind of accept that energetic burden is probably not the right word, but we accept that energetic agreement. We believe them, and it alters our own state of mind, which then alters our thoughts, which then alters our habits and words and actions and life. The idea is to take complete charge of all that you are and all that you want to be in every now, which gives you that's where personal freedom comes in, is choosing who and what you're going to be at all times. Not only the choosing, but the happiness and the not caring that someone picked that other apple. If I was miserable as a doctor, I'm probably not going to do that. If I was miserable as a surfer, I'm probably not going to do that. I am choosing what gives me the greatest energy and life right now. And the way I choose what to do is by casting my attention forward into the future and deciding who I'm going to be and then altering my trajectory.
I would love to tell this story. I was doing this astrology thing
Hang
on Saturday.
You need the mic. It's going on the internet.
Doing this astrology thing, and it was Saturn and Neptune, and I was doing the Fillmores.
Yeah.
So Charles Fillmore had a dream one night, and when I heard it, I said, "Well, that was a no-brainer." But he decided whether he wanted to work in the coal mines or start a new church, and so he decided he wanted to start a new church, and so he changed his trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But when I originally thought of it, I said, well, that is just a no-brainer. But kind of the whole thought of how this church began for him was, am I going to pull mine or...
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's very easy to see the way this is done with big life decisions. Do I quit my job? Do I take a new job? Do I move to a new city? Something like that. You can see that your life can go in branching paths, coal miner or church founder. Those are the common ones.
So if you're looking at what somebody thinks about it.
Yeah.
And so you're changing by that. Is that what you're calling a hook?
A hook would be, well, so the concept of a hook is not actually super relevant to what we're talking about nowadays, other than the way human beings and our energetic signatures interact with one another. To use like some like a negative example, that's again no judgment, but a negative example is I tell my friend that he's never going to amount to anything, and he replays that in his brain over and over and over again. And as long as he gives that energy, I have hooked him. Or someone says, "You're ugly," to me, right? And if I accept that, if I make an agreement that this person has the ability to change my own thought patterns, they have hooked me because of my agreement and acceptance of the energetic exchange. So the idea for us to be free of outside influences is to remove our hooks. The Buddhists would say remove our attachments to things. Wendy.
So I guess in a way, that's part of what I would want to bring for talk about is that I love metaphysics and the practice of what you want to be and focusing on what you want is beautiful and wonderful. However, the thing about it is that there are some things that we do over and over and over, some things that stand in the way of what we want to do, but we are so immersed in the middle of it, and our identity is so attached to that loop, if you call it, that we don't really even see it. And so that's why just looking at what you want in the future, that's going to drive the things that show up. But sometimes the things that show up require a looking into the past, or even so. For instance, codependency. I was the major codependent of my family. I was my mother's, who was a codependent, and I bought codependent books for people who needed them. And it wasn't until my therapist said, "Wendy, I'm not going to see you again unless you go to at least 3 codependent meetings a week." And I sat for at least 6 months in codependent meetings going, "These are the most messed up, sick people. Why is she making me come to this stupid place? It doesn't make any sense." Until the day I said, "I gotta leave early because I'm gonna go babysit my grandkids so my son can go out to the bar with his girlfriend. And I gotta go get him some food because they don't have any food." And I went, "Oh my God, I'm one of these people." And so what I'm saying is sometimes we have to go through the processes of looking back and recognizing even what we've said.
The information to be gained from the past is extraordinarily valuable in making a decision for your future. Now, Winnie, I would call that, as you said, I'm going to keep saying loops because that's what I use in my household. But so if we're here in the surface of time, right, like under the surface of time, we're immersed in time, and we have our loops that we can't see. It's like trying to see the trees while you're under the water of the river. Trying to see the future or actually clearly see the past. Well, I sit right now, I can't see the past. I have to actually remove myself from the now and the flow of time. So what we might call actually seeing the loop a breakthrough. When we have a breakthrough, we can alter our loops. We can alter our lives. We can stop holding on to the things that do not serve us anymore and allow us to rise, and no judgment, but like rise in frequency, which I would posit is like the idea and the concept behind all that we are and do, is to grow our frequency and our awareness. Which is what this is the concept behind all of the transcendental experiences, all of the spiritual, like Kundalini awakening, all of this stuff. Heck, therapy, all of it is trying to give us a breakthrough, to give us perspective. Because if you were walking through a cornfield, and we'll call all of space-time, we're going to call it a cornfield, and you're kind of just stumbling through it in the now, and you can't really see much. If you could pop up over and see surfer or doctor, you get to decide, you get your bearings, because you have gained perspective. And so that happens outside of time. That's the fun part, is your brain, your thoughts, your soul, yourself is not encumbered and trapped in time. Right? Our bodies and our material selves are in time, but that which is not physical is not limited by time. And so that's kind of the out-of-body experiences, the transcendental experiences and things, is if you could see all of the potential timelines all at once, you can decide which one you wish to be in. You don't have to do it that energetically. These can be small changes incrementally over time, like steering a cruise ship. You can also make a huge jump through and outside of time. It's all self-directed. You just have to decide and be it. Your thought, change your actions, change your thought patterns, change your things, and then it will change all that is in your reality. Because when you change it internally, the external reality will reflect who you actually are. Not if you. That's why a lot of this stuff with the lip service and the people that always say, I'm going to do this, 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 or I'm going to quit doing this, I'm going to quit doing this. Say those loops. It's not going to work, because you're not actually changing. We're not actually changing until we do. And when we do, it's no longer about, I'm going to do this. We don't have to say anything. This is where the actions make sense. So this is where the actions actually hold weight, is when our actions and our words and our thoughts are all consistent. And that consistency basically gives us a time machine. Like our consistency, our innate wholeness of the synchronization of mind, body, and spirit gives us the power to transcend the illusion, the dream. We can kind of wake up and start dreaming with the mind awake, and we understand that we are in a dream, and this one can be a lucid dream. I mean, there all can be lucid dreams. Like we are the director of our own dream, of our own reality. And if we're not in control, I put it to you, then who is? And the Don Miguel Ruiz would say, the dream of society. We wake up. By wake up, I mean we are born, and then society says, this is who you are. This is what you are. This is what is real. This is what is not real. This is what is true and false. And we accept these things, because what choice do we have? I mean, we're babes. We forgot it all. Yeah. So we sever the hooks that keep us attached. We transcend, and then we are given the freedom to choose our direction.
That when your mind, body, and source line up is what happens at the Joe Dispenza events when he lines people up energetically, and they're healed of whatever's going on, amazing things, because they're breaking through that barrier, and it changes your world, and you become a totally different person,
But the same.
but you're still you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Resurrection is also what the Bible calls it.
I would just tweak that just a little bit. I'm not a victim as a baby, never could be, and none of those people are doing anything to me. I set up the way I come in. I set up how I want to be structured as a platform to play the next game and tell the next story.
Absolutely.
And I like that better for me.
No, oh yeah. I mean that's 100% correct. We weren't going to get into like you choosing your incarnation. Well, we can start talking about reincarnation. We got 10 minutes. Let's go. So essentially,
Let's go surfing.
I mean, right? I want to start.
Surfing.
We should. We can go surfing.
10 minutes.
Okay. Then to finish out kind of the drawing. Now that we know that our attention is not our attention, we have control of it, and it is not fixed into necessarily the now. We can use the phrase, you ever know anyone that, is living in the past? Their attention is literally in the past on things. And I would posit that, and again, this is all limited, as Wendy will be so kind as to point out. In the past is where, neurologically speaking, or normally speaking, or traditionally speaking, whatever we want to say, that's where we have like regrets. Regrets are in the past. That is where you can live. Is, wow, I wish I had taken a job as a teacher. Wow, I wish I had gotten on that plane. These are potential almost traps, loops, pitfalls. This is something that can not serve you. These are hooks. Regrets can be hooks that you carry with you. And by severing those energetic bonds, you reclaim the energy that you have surrendered to this hook, allowing yourself to rise. And again, the idea and the purpose of us is to rise. In the future, and which is something that is pretty prevalent these days because time is moving so fast, people are living in the future a lot because we want to be ready, right? In the future is anxiety. That's when we cast ourselves forward into a potential future, into a potential reality, and worry about it or think about it. That's where we can think, oh, well, what if this happens, and what if this happens, what if that happens? And this is something that I see all over the place nowadays. This is less and less, we'll say, because again, my words are going to create the reality that I see. But anxiety is a problematic or symptomatic a symptom of a greater issue in society. Yep.
So where does imagine fit into that?
So that's thanks, John. So that's all that there is. Your attention is your imagination. If I said dreaming, I also said imagine. I'm imagining my reality right now. I can choose to finish my talk. I can imagine myself just walking out after a mic drop and driving home without even my daughter. Your imagination is the machine, is the energy source. That's kind of our divine spark is our imagination, which is how we can imagine different potential realities. We just have to do it, and that takes energy. To finish up with another practical example of how to affect change in the now in your life, and how I use it. We'll go with this. I'm all about multiversal realities and things. This is how I make decisions in the now. Because the only time you can make a decision in the now is in the now. So, okay, there's a Greg that can be a surfer. There's a Greg that can be a doctor. Both of those exist. In fact, every infinite potential future exists. I can be anything or do anything with any length of hair, with any blah, 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 blah. Okay. But I am faced with that potential polar choice, surfer or doctor. A lot of times you can be, analysis paralysis is the name of the phrase. Decision, fear of a decision, and that's generally like fear of regret. or anxiety about actually making a decision and changing something about the trajectory of your life. If you begin, start, live continuously with the understanding that you are an infinite multiversal being, understanding that what you are experiencing in the now is only one facet of. You ever been to a fun house where there's mirrors on an infinity mirror? These are all of the views. Those are like mind-blowing experiences when you live and you can actually visualize all of the overlapping realities and all of the views that have coincided into the now to see each other and have a good time. So there is a Greg that in the now has decided to become a surfer, and there is a Greg in the now that has decided to become a doctor. And so I'm doing it both. I'm doing both. In fact, I'm excited, and I love the idea that I'm doing both, which frees me from any of the regret, frees me from any of the anxiety, frees me from any of the potential downsides of actually making that decision, because I know it's all happening. Because the only time it is happening is in the now. There's a surfer Greg, a Dr. Greg, there's a Greg that is continuing on the trajectory that I have chosen for myself, and there's an infinite amount of other Gregs that are doing an infinite amount of other things. And so, why worry? I guess that's pretty much it. The point, I guess, go back to in the last few minutes of the 4 agreements. I will give a summary. The 4 agreements. I like to use iPad. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions, and always do your best. Making those agreements with yourself will essentially and can essentially free you from all of the other hooks and agreements that have been imbued within you by your own choice, by others' choices, not really others' choices, but it's all you. You're the director of this whole show. So taking personal responsibility and accountability for everything that is happening in the now, in the past, in the future. It's all yours to seize. And that's all I implore everyone everywhere to do, is to seize the reins of their own life. Be the director of all that you are experiencing, because that takes away that feeling of helplessness or powerlessness of society is pushing me this way or that way. I don't like this. I do like that. This is all nonsense. You're in charge.
Be the apple tree.
Be the apple tree. Absolutely. That's it. Yeah. We did it. Yeah, thanks, Mom.
Do we have announcements?
In the past. Announcements. There's so many announcements. Hey, Don. Meditation is tonight at 6 p.m. and is open to everyone. Our monthly board meeting is tomorrow, October 28th at 6 p.m. Guests are welcome and asked to arrive at 6:30 p.m. Excuse me. This Tuesday, October 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the O'Reilly Center for Hope Community Partnership of the Ozarks is having a crisis cold weather shelter volunteer training. This is for all new and returning volunteers. Some of the topics covered will be de-escalation, harm reduction, and using Narcan. They are providing food, and you can sign up in the foyer or scan the QR code and sign up online. The mat makers meet every Thursday at 10 a.m. This group weaves sleeping mats out of plastic bags, which are then donated to folks who are unsheltered. Their goal is to make 100 mats in 100 days, and they would love your help. This past Thursday was day number 64, and they have donated 67 mats. Crisis Cold Weather Shelter season officially starts this Friday, November 1st, and runs through March 31st. When the overnight temperature is forecasted to be 32 degrees or below, we will open our doors to 25 people who need a warm, safe place to sleep. We are inclusive and open to everyone. Our shelter is only possible because of volunteers. Please share this information with your friends and family and ask if they would like to be involved. It's daylight savings time. Remember to turn your clocks back 1 hour this Saturday, November 2nd. Next Sunday, there will be no 9:15 adult education class. Our next Friendship Sunday potluck is next Sunday, November 3rd. Everyone is invited to bring a dish and stay after service for food and fellowship. Please sign up in the foyer with what you plan to bring. Also next Sunday, at 1:30 p.m., Deidre D'Amico will begin a 3-part astrology workshop on understanding your rising sun and moon signs. Participants will learn the meaning and significance of these signs. Classes will be November 3rd, 10th, 17th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. You can sign up in the foyer. It's time for our fall fundraiser. Join us November 9th for a Fallen for Unity dinner. Inside, there will be live music, a silent auction, food, and drinks. Outside, there will be a bonfire and s'mores. Tickets are $20, and this includes dinner, s'mores, and 2 drinks. We are needing silent auction items and desserts. We will also need volunteers to help set up and tear down. You can sign up in the foyer. If you want to relax and rejuvenate, bring a pillow and a blanket and join us on November 16th at 2 p.m. for a cosmic gong journey. This is a unique combination of sonic sound healing and frequency arrangements that target the healing of the mind, body, and spirit.
Really cool.
Super cool. Oh yeah, sound healing and frequency stuff is fantastic. Tickets are $20 and the class is limited to 20 participants. You can purchase your ticket online or in the office. Today starts the 8th and final week of our 8 items in 8 weeks shelter donation drive. The last item is soft cereal or granola bars. It's not too late to grab a list in the foyer and purchase the items. If you don't like to shop, we have an Amazon wish list, and you can order all 8 items and they'll be shipped right to the church. Once you have brought all 8 items, please give Lisa your list with your name on it to be entered in the prize drawing for $100. And that's it.
There's one bag of,
Give us money.
yeah, there's one bag of free Halloween candy out here too, if anybody needs some.
That's the donations. Everyone chip in.
Pass it out.
This program was made possible by the generosity of viewers like you. Yes, right?
Hey, Greg.
I heard that before.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone wants a 4 agreements book, I have them available. So, come on down.
Are we gonna do a couple?
Oh, you sure can. My phone died halfway through. Great.